If they could, they. Oh, having a moment. Right. This is what happens when you have 4 double espressos and no lunch. Right. Welcome back to another episode of Pass the Syrup, the agency podcast. Only agents are allowed on. PropTech, stop asking. It's the agent podcast for agents. 3 great agents today. So first up, we have Adam Mackay of Mackay Property. Where is it based?
We're
Airport. Adam,
near
mate, how are you?
Hampstead Airport. Yeah, Sawbridgeworth, Bishop Stortford. Yeah, on the Essex Hertfordshire borders. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for coming on. Adam has got fantastic social media. His details will be deep below, and you can have a follow. Adam's stuff is great. We've also got Jamie Miners of Miners and Brady, 5-branch business in the east of England. Jamie, how's it going? Looking sexy, mate. I've got to say that roll neck is a
Thank you, mate.
Good.
Thank you. It's Christmas, you know. I've got hybrid chins eventually over the years. As more weight goes on, this thing just hides it, so it's all good.
Nice. Looking good. I feel. I mean, mine normally come out in January because of all the bulking that I do throughout December. You know, bulking. And my favourite agent in Peterborough, Tania Cannon and Co. Second time on the pod. How's it going, love?
It's going well, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Listen, the sun.
No.
I feel like you're going to be doing this the whole time, dancing. We'll get some music. There's a good clip.
You're
there.
in Magaluf. She's in Magaluf. That's what it is. You're live.
Yeah.
Living large. Yeah, it's got a bit of a Ibiza vibe actually. Like a Ibiza villa in the background sort of going on. I haven't got that going on here at all.
That's it. Just popped on a plane last night, just specifically for this.
That's and that's the commitment I'm looking for.
Yeah.
That is what I'm looking for.
No.
Not Adam setting his diary note for 1:30 and running up the stairs at 1 o'clock. Or 1 o'clock realizing what he's got to do. This is the difference between men and women. This is why I lean towards women. Well done, Tania. Good work. Right, we're going to dig straight in. Let's get on with the question of the week. So, no doubt, a very popular question. The question I pose to the guys is, how does an honest valuer compete with a strong business that overvalues? Something I hear quite often, well-known, maybe established businesses overvaluing properties. How do you deal with that?
Just been delivered some service. Sorry, 2 secs. Cheers, mate. Yeah, thank you. Dr. Proper.
Is that the answer?
I was thinking we were getting a delivery. Well, this is going to be good. What's this going to be? Dr. Pepper. What's the old line from Dr. Pepper? What's the worst could happen? Perfect.
Exactly. It's estate agency. What's the worst that can happen, Aidan?
So, who wants to go first? How do you handle agents overvalue? Or are you 3 guys proper overvaluers? Is that your modus operandum?
I'll chuck in first. So, we've got a team of 65 people, and they're very competitive, and they all want to outdo each other. And it's a problem that we found as a business, okay? No one wants to be down on the leaderboards. Everyone wants to make sure that they're putting their weight. And that is an issue that we've faced across our business, especially as the markets change, prices change. And it's trying to get through to our team. Guys, firstly, if we give bad advice, we look bad. Secondly, we don't actually help anyone move. And thirdly, no one gets paid. We don't have a business. So for us, it's trying to break down to all of those people. I'm all about winning and being competitive and all the rest of it, but actually we're not helping the client, we're not helping ourselves, and we're not helping you. So it's a challenge that we face, Ben, and we still do face, where agents get too excited, their positivity comes out too much, and they say the things at times they think the client wants to hear, and that's a challenge that I think all agents deep down will face.
I mean, it's an age-old problem, isn't it? Because the consumer is the optimist when it comes to their own home. You know, who are we to break their heart and tell them the truth that it's not the biggest on the road, or it's not the most, newly refurbished, or, they are bringing you guys around because you're the guys that are going to get the best price, right? So how do we let them down gently?
Well, straight away, as soon as I walk through the door, I tell them, look, I'm the agent that you've got in, not telling you what you want to hear, but I'm going to tell you what is actually it. And actually, for me, it's about reputation and things. And I think sometimes we do have to give what they don't necessarily want to hear in the right way. I obviously am fairly new to the estate agency industry, and I think this is one of the few industries that everyone thinks they're an expert on. Everyone thinks they can tell us what they can do, what my job is, and things like that. And actually, for me, I'm not having it. And I'd rather not take the houses on. I'd rather be that second agent. They've brought me in because of my reputation, which means more to me than anything. Yes, a house is ultimately worth what somebody's willing to pay. But half the time, a lot of sellers as well are a little bit wise to it. Like I had an agent, I valued a property recently where I was the second agent. Next door's not selling at 200,000, but done up. The agent's valued this one at 180, but the walls are falling down. There's cracks in the ceiling. Do you know what I mean? Needs everything. He was laughed out the door as well. So I think actually sellers to a point are aware of it as well. And what I kind of go in with the facts, the figures, the comparables. And if you can kind of give a bit of data to back it up a little bit, I think people realise. And for me, being a second agent and actually walking away, the 3 or 4 this week I've took on is where they've literally come to me going, I made a mistake. I should have come to you in the first place. They've let me down. And actually, I don't think there's a shame of being that way.
No, I mean, listen, that is a beautiful position. First choice second agent is, in our own business, you've heard me say it before, is our preferred position. We want to be the person that gets the call after maybe the consumers got their head around really where the value is, and they've softened a little bit and they're ready to transact, and they've been through the rough and they're ready, and now they're ready to have an arm around the shoulder. What's really interesting though, Tania, is you're talking about you've been out to value first round, they've gone with another agent who's given a higher valuation, and then they still come back to you, so they've admitted that you're correct.
Yeah.
Second time around, which is amazing, because we don't think in our business that it might be a volume thing. There are the volume of competition that we're up against. We don't see the consumer that often going back to the agent that gave the honest valuation. You know, if I have 3 agents out to value my home, and 2 give me the right price and 1 doesn't, I go with the one that doesn't. I'm not going to call the other 2. I'm going to call one of the others on the high street because there's so many of them.
Really, we get him come back to us. Yeah, if we set the stall out and we have given proper advice and we stand by that. And I mentioned earlier we have those challenges, but we will try and do our best to make sure they get the right advice. And actually, those people tend to come back to us. We stay in touch with them every single week. They get a weekly catch up from us. We don't miss that week, even if it's an email, a call, whatever. And when the time is then right for their contract to come out, or they're so sick and tired of sitting on the market, we'll then pounce and go back round and win the business. So personally, we do get that come back.
And does it come down to location as well? Yeah, I think that's key, obviously.
I think Ben, where you're based, because I deal with a lot of my buyers are from where you're trading, Ben, and I could see the type of client they don't want to admit defeat. They're used to winning in life. They've got good jobs. So I think depending where you're in the country, you probably get different.
I think it's location. Whereas I'm such a small town, so I'm just outside Peterborough. We are a little bit backwards sometimes, but I like it. But there's probably 3-4 people competing, but the name is out there, and do you know what I mean? They are getting the service and things, so it becomes a bit easier because you kind of know. And it doesn't, for me, and I know there's 2 other main competitors, and I actually set the business up because of how bad they were. So I retrained to do this because of how bad they were. But it's about, they kind of make the mistake, go with them the first time, but I'm playing the long game. They won't go back to them. So if I don't get it this time, I'll get it next sale.
No, that's good. That's great. I think you're all right. Location-wise plays a part. Also, so Jamie, in our old business, which sounds like a very similar size to yours, we were a 4-branch, 60-odd people. We would get those people come back to us. I think it was about market awareness, market presence, excuse me, market share, if you like, and success stories. In this lower volume model, at a higher price point, Adam, to your point, the consumer is a particular type of individual, and they're not used to not getting it right first time round. Mm-hmm. So there's a bit of that for sure. So Adam, do you experience this much overvaluing in your?
Yes, it's been my company's 14 years old, and at the early stages, I used to heavily set my USP at knowing the data, pound per square foot. No other agents used to talk about it in my area, so I used to use that. Yes, great, they've told you this, but nothing's ever traded at £700 a square foot ever. So why do they think this? Because your picture was built in 1970s. But now it's coupled with that, and it's also coupled with brand presence, social media, and the best marketing. Because I say to clients, like, okay, it's obviously you want the best price because you're listening to their best. The only way you're going to do that is with the best marketing campaign. And have they got that? and they haven't. So let's go out offers over and then see if we can get out there. And that's how we do it here. Yeah.
That's good. Yeah, we like offers over. Tania, Jamie, when you present a property to the market, do you use offers over? Do you go guide price? What works for you guys?
I think offers personally at the minute isn't working as well as it was. Do you know what I mean? Like, and things, it still has its use 100%, and I like it. We're now more in the guide price functionality. Do you know what I mean?
Agree with that. I'd agree
where we are at the minute, but I definitely explain the marketing strategy, because we've got the agents here, and please don't say you're doing this and things where they're doing the like 274,995 and things like that. Keep it. Do you know what I mean? So when I say they are backwards here, they are fully backwards. So it's all, I explain the strategy, what works best, and all of that psychology behind it as well. But in my head, I'm a trainer. I'm not an estate agent. I've got to get my head. That's what I am.
And what do you mean? You're training your clients on?
Well, I think because I don't feel like I'm an estate agent. I came from as a trainer from social care, so I still am learning all of this. So it's about talking them through the steps, and so I've just applied that model to what we do, and just literally, so they've bought into us because we're talking through just terminologies and bits that a lot of agents, especially in the area, have missed. So they go in because they do it every day. They've forgotten, and they're using all the jargon, and they're using this, that, and the other. So I'm not teaching them to suck eggs, but they're not coming to me asking any questions because I've covered it, and I'm not in a patronising way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
So,
and Jamie, so I'm interested, with a team of your size, what do you find works best in terms of educating them? So I like that you talk about the consumer, you talk about business, you talk about the individual from a pay perspective. What really works for business of that size, a lot of individuals, the competitive thing, I think a lot of people will resonate with. How do you find, what's the methodology for educating them and getting them on side with the right way of doing things?
So we take a lot of training. We do a lot of training. We have a proper training and development program that are built. So they've got I think it's like 55, 60 pages as a structure for each member of the team to go through in all departments. And part of that at the moment is relevant based on the market conditions. So at the moment, it's reverse engineering what we need, what the client needs, and how we get the end result, and working backwards. So the end result is, guys, you want these clients to sell their property for the price they're happy with, that actually goes through the completion. Okay, how do we get there? And we work it all the way back right to the outset of booking the valuation. So actually understanding what the client wants, why they want it, what their journey and experience is so far. And when the valuer then goes out, it's our training to our valuer is understand why the client wants to move, understand how you're going to facilitate that, and actually how does price and strategy come into play there? Because if you do tell them what they want to hear, they're not going to move. As I said earlier, they don't get the result, you don't get the result, nobody wins. You know, you might get an ego tickle because you've signed what you think is a nice house up, but it's a waste of everyone's time. And actually, you're not doing the right job by the client and by you and your career. So we take a step back and say, okay, what would be doing the right job by the client, and what would be doing the right job for your career? Because some of the, some of our members of staff, they love helping the client. Some, let's be honest, they're desperate for their career to do well, to earn money, and to, live a nice life. Well, you overvaluing doesn't give you that. You giving correct, honest advice, missing out on some instructions, walking away from some, but actually winning the ones that are right and helping people move, that does give you the end result. So for us, Ben, we have to break it down step by step as to how valuing correctly is actually going to help them. And it echoes what Adam said. You get your comps right, you understand what's sold on the road, you know the details, and actually you go forward with proper evidence and guidance on how that move's going to work.
But also, I think it's important to give it. I see a lot of agents in my area go, "Oh, the consumer's asking, the client's asking, should I change the bathroom? Should I do this to the front garden?" And most of the agents will just say, "Don't do anything, just put it on the market. Yeah, you don't need to spend any money." But quite often you can say, like, spend that 2 or 3 grand, could get you 25, 50,000 more. If we deal with a lot of properties which been inherited. I went to one yesterday and it stunk of smoke. Absolutely stunk of smoke. Yeah, and she said, "What do you think I should do when we take it to market?" And the other agent said it's fine. And I was like, well, I wouldn't want to live in it. Not really. She spoke like 40 a day for the last 50 years. So it needs to be addressed. So I think it's about giving that honest. And sometimes I've said to clients, I don't think now's the right time for you to sell this house.
But just ask you a quick question, Adam, which is really important, is that as the owner of the business, you've had it for 14 years.
Yes.
And if you walk away from business,
on my hairline.
Hey, mine's not much better.
You're doing better
Mine's
than me.
not
You're
much
doing better
better.
than me.
It's just dragging it forward to win day. But obviously for you, if you walk away from business, that doesn't, I imagine, because you know it's not the right business for you, or perhaps you're given the right advice, it doesn't hurt your ego. You know, you don't have.
Don't get me wrong. I wasn't like it 14 years ago. You know,
and that's my point. Is when you then got valuers as part of your business that aren't the owners, and they don't have that level of security, because that's just how. And I wasn't when I worked for other people. When you then become an owner and you're in control of everything, you can walk away from that business and you can say to that client, actually, I'm not just going to agree with what everyone else has said. I actually will give you that advice because it's the right thing to do. But I think people in their career that are coming up that journey working for other firms, it is more difficult. They're too worried about their conversion ratio dropping and too worried about, not performing where they think the right advice is. So I think it's great that you've got to that stage. But I guess, how do we make sure that others coming through the industry also have that?
Yeah, good point.
It's a cultural issue, isn't it? Because most agents who are on the journey to not necessarily business ownership, but once you get into a senior role, you have maybe a bit more confidence about how you can behave, and you can articulate effectively to maybe your line manager that that's not the right way for us to go. Whereas right the way from junior up to, I would even argue, senior salespeople roles, there's a lot of KPIs out there. There's a lot of metrics. There's a lot of, and so there's not criticism, but there's a lot of judgment, which of course there needs to be. It's a sales environment. I'm not saying there shouldn't be, but yeah, how do you strike that balance? How do you get the culture right where we are here and we are trying to win and we are going to win, but actually we just don't want to win that one because that one's not right now. And that is, if anyone's got a solution, be good to hear it, because Jamie, what you pointed out of Adam is exactly right. In business ownership, Adam can make that decision. But in your business with 60 people, 65 people in the team, that'll be extraordinarily difficult for some of them to make that decision.
Yeah, of course.
We've got weekly KPIs that go out for the whole business and everyone can see it. And what we've changed and tried to tweak is, of the valuer's instructions, what percentage sold within a certain time scale, and of the valuer's instructions, how much actually banked in pounds and pence. Because we used to have 60 listings, 52 listings, conversion ratio 52%. And it was all about making sure that when the figures came out once a week, your conversion ratio doesn't look crap. Let's just face it. You just want to make sure that it's up there and the whole company aren't seeing you thinking you're useless. Yeah. And what happened is people would be so worried about that, they'd committed the wrong figure because they don't want to lose the business. And that's an issue that we've had in our company that we've had to sit down, really address and make sure we refine. And touch wood, so far it's worked well.
I think, James, honestly, I've got so much respect for you just being so open. We had the same issue in our business. We had to readjust, so not the current business, much smaller business, very different model, but in our business, reassess the KPIs we looked at, and quite often open up conversations so that everyone could hear that even if that person presents as having not smashed it out of the park, they've made some really good decisions. They've done some really good things. Don't get me wrong. We love a league table. We love gamification, all the usual stuff that work really well in our industry. But yeah, it's I think it's an industry-wide issue, and it's probably more prevalent now in 2023 than it has been for a few years, with prices doing that and the lack of education maybe around training and valuing about having that difficult conversation.
I think
now.
I don't know if you're aware of like Royston Guest. He talks about the KPIs, that measures that matter, and using that terminology. I think focusing on less of them has helped me as a company. Like not having loads to as a business owner to track. You can track them at the end of the year or the call, but I do that myself. But having the team just focused on like, right, okay, well, what type of buyer, client, seller is our ideal type of client? The buyer persona. We've done seller persona. We did a lot of work on that about 4 or 5 years ago, so we know what sort of client we want, and we talk about that with the valuers. So so Dan comes back and I said, are they a good fit? And he's like, they're the right fit. They're motivated. They fit perfectly with us. They're busy people. They want advice. They've taken my advice that they're going to change the kitchen before they list, and they're listed in January, February next year once the kitchen's done. So that, I think that is a very important thing to get going through the team. Like, who is actually because you can't be something to everyone. You mentioned about 2 different models, Ben. you know, you try to hit everyone, nothing sticks, does it? You can't just throw everything at it.
That's right. Yeah, you've got. Yeah, I mean, pick your battles, or maybe it's not that, but John Hanford, who's in the Finding Country network, really great agent, big on integrity. He has 4 things he measures in terms of whether he'll accept working with a client. If they get 3 out of 4, he'll move forward. Number 1, they'll come on at the right price that he gives. He's talking about valuing himself. They'll pay the full fee. They'll have a board. Rural areas, board's important. Number 4, they're not an arsehole. As long as they're 3 out of 4, then he'll do business. So even if they're an arsehole, if they do the other 3, it's a seller and it's worthwhile. And I can live with dealing with an arsehole for a short period of time because we've got a really good property on our hands. So I quite like that model. That works. All too often, though, you hear about agents doing overpricing, low fee. No one wants to board anymore, and the client's an arsehole. They're getting all 4. So yeah, or not getting all 4. Maybe the right way to phrase that. Okay, so honest valuer, the best way is take a long-term view, really, on what's worth doing business. Jamie's point, there's no benefit to working with properties that are not going to sell. Tania, you're big on education. And Adam, yeah, data. Pound per square foot. That's so funny in your area. That is, we bleed that here. That's really common and popular in our area of the world. And
it's coming up, you know, other agents do talk about it now, but like 10 years ago, no one did. And I'd have to try and find, you know, it wasn't as open then back then on the internet to get that. And I need to spend hours trying to work out the average for a 3-bed, 4-bed. Yeah, phoning Chris Watkins, going, can you help me out with it? But, you know, it helps me have that knowledge, you know, and you don't want to go in blind, do you?
No, you definitely don't.
And that was more because I had a winning mentality. I was so afraid of getting it wrong. Do you know what I mean? I didn't want to get it wrong for my own. I wanted to give the client the best advice. So that's why I used to go to that leg. It's easy now, isn't it? Because you can get the data quickly.
It's easy. Yeah, it is easy. Why doesn't everyone do it? I don't know.
But I think people do so much difference to the house that you actually go in blind now. I know the square footage is there, but I think people have a bit of what I call like shiny syndrome. Do you know what I mean? If a house is properly done, they're going to pay that premium. And you literally go in blind. The same, every house down the street is now so different.
Well, I've got a question for all 3 of you. Right? So, have you ever reported the value after, not on the appointment?
All the time, yeah.
So I since 2018, I've not given a value on the spot ever. I just don't. I want that second opportunity to have a chat with them and go away and think. So yes, I used it, and that's the first thing I tell them. I'm not going to give you the value on the spot. I need to take it in today.
I think if I can have a ballpark, but I think until I go in the house, you don't know what you're going into. So to a point, I think we do go in houses now more blind than we used to, because years ago every house was the same, but now it is literally walls knocked down, extended. There's so much more that people do.
Carry on, guys. I think that means my camera's playing up.
Looking for the phone. It's like a little cat on the screen.
That is strange, isn't it? I'm not seeing that before.
Whatever is going on? Is that some sort of joke or something, Ben? Is that
the next question? Look for your phone.
Camera, just playing up. When Adam starts asking me questions, the cat comes up, and I have to get away as quickly as possible before I fall myself. Sorry, to answer your question, Adam. Yeah, so with a lot of our properties that we're working on, they've already been on the market. So we're the second choice agent, and so we'll give a valuation on the spot then because we know the property well enough. And that's sort of you've got to display a level of competence. Quite often, though, we're dealing with properties that are not run of the mill, and we need the time to go away and have a think if they haven't been on the market for an extended period of time. And like you say, you want that follow up conversation anyway. You know, you want as many touch points as possible between. We capture people quite early into the decision making process, so they're not going to. Very rarely do we value something that comes on in the next month. It's normally a few months. So
we're similar to that actually as well. So you have a longer time to keep that report as well, which shocks me actually. I've got an agent that works it's about 2 hours from my office, and his is like 7 days. Like people have a valuation, then they go on the market that week. They want
ours is same day. Ours is within 2-3 days. You know, you don't get a chance to go away and think about your figures. You lose the business. You got no chance. Absolutely no chance. In Norfolk and East Anglia, or closer to us, if you go away for a couple of days, you've lost the business straight away. The client thinks you don't know what you're doing. The client thinks you don't understand pricing, and you lose that instruction almost immediately.
Yeah, the old business was exactly the same. Speed, they expect it. You know, everything needs to be done yesterday. Whereas, yeah, we've the culture change moving from a sort of mass market product to where we are now. The team, the struggle we had getting used to just sort of slowing down, and very, very different, very different. All right, guys, right, let's move on. That's very nice. Thank you very much for your responses. Not that it happens, overvaluing, of course, but if it does happen in your area, there's some ways that maybe you could solve it or some solutions for it. Social hand grenades. So something I spotted this week, which based on the numbers, I reckon maybe everyone spotted because it was a very popular post. Going to share it with you guys. That's not how we share. Let's share and just get your thoughts on it.
I actually went to Chiquito's and ended up with a horse. So I am the most random going ever.
Sorry,
Nice.
we're coming off. We're not looking at interest rates. You came away from Chiquito's with a horse.
Yeah.
You have to give us a bit more than that.
Honestly, it's not honest to God. I am not a horsey person at all. Like, I literally walk it down the street. I walk it down the street like a dog because I am clueless. But I felt sorry for it, so I've got a horse.
No way.
So yeah.
Sorry, we're gonna have to recap that then. Sorry.
I've got nothing.
So I didn't realise you have to feed them in the winter, like they run out of grass. So I've got into viewings and valuations, and my friends rang me up going, "Your horse is in the next person's field." And I'm like, I can't do anything because I'm actually going into an appointment. You've got to sort it out.
What an icebreaker, though, to the client.
From?
What?
Where did you get the horse from?
She's a proper gypsy horse.
What, just they didn't want it, you said, "I'll have it"?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're living in different worlds, I think.
Honestly, my life is like, my husband never knows what to expect. Like, you can't suggest anything because it's already happened.
That's a new one for me, coming home with a horse.
Yeah. So I'm still shocked, and it's 3 years on, but I am actually a horse owner. I am clueless. But other than that, it's fine. So,
Tania, give us your best horse impression. I want to hear your horse.
No, that's so dodgy. You can't not at all. But let's look at the interest rate question because I probably know more about that than the horses.
Firstly, the information is astonishing, and it resonated with a lot of people because 282 interactions, 7 comments, 28 reposts.
Well, that's my on my to-do list. I've got to do it.
And I've actually used that stat in replying to people's offers because I had an offer at the weekend on a house worth 1.4 or on the market for 1.4, and they offered 1.250. And he told me on the email, on the offer form, was that he knows that the price is going to go down 30% in 2024. So I said, well, no one knows that, but something I do know is in the last 51 years, there's been an increase of that, and he couldn't say anything, could he? So he hasn't increased his offer though. So there we go.
That's not ideal.
Proper sales coach there. Yeah. I've gone back to him numbers. He's ignored me.
Yes, I think he's blocked me actually.
Well, the reason I wanted to share this because firstly the interaction is insane, and I saw this on different. I saw other people quoting this before I saw Chris's post, but you could see a Watkins stat a mile off. When you see a couple of people posting something, you know where that's come from.
Yeah.
But what the big takeaway for me is that's been shared more than anything else I've seen this year. He said, feel free to copy and paste. Whereas most of the time he doesn't say that. And so people don't feel like they can. And actually, I think there's a good lesson here for agents when they're putting information on social media, let the world know they can use that data.
Yeah.
It's such a simple thing, but letting everyone know you can share this far and wide if you want to. That is easily his best performing piece of data this year. So I thought there was quite a good lesson there. What do you think about yesterday's autumn statement? Any comments? Underwhelmed? Not surprised?
The first thing I'm annoyed about, and I'm not sure how political we can go here, so I'll try and keep it.
Go mad. Go on, Jamie, do your thing. Do it.
Right, how ridiculous is this? I'm going into a little rant here, and feel free to object, fire back, whatever you want, right? But how ridiculous is this? That we live in a country where you can't wear nice watches in London. You've got to be careful on your jewellery. Cars are getting stolen. we don't have enough doctors, we don't have enough nurses, we don't have enough people actually saving people's health. The wait on actually seeing people, if you've got some form of illness, can be like a year or two, especially for an operation. So, but we want to cut our national insurance by 2% to have less money to be able to put towards that. And we're still going to have a merry-go-round of no doctors, no nurses, can't see these people, poor safety, cut the services. And we're going to try and cut 2% just to tick a box, just so we get voted in. That's my view. And I think it's ridiculous policy.
Well, I completely agree, firstly. I think the saving on national insurance was to combat the fact that fuel prices are going up. And it was a preemptive move to try and, I think politicians just think the general public are very naive and that we don't see through all the nonsense. My 2-year-old, 3 little girls, my 2-year-old has a problem with one of her ears. She's had a burst eardrum 8 times in the last 12 months. People don't know what burst eardrum is. They think it's like music and something makes it burst. It's actually when you have an ear infection, the infection swells the ear and the eardrum bursts. Once they get to 7 times in a period of a year, you're referred. So we've gone through the referral process. The wait for something that's regarded as an emergency, 7 months.
That's wrong.
So it's
crazy.
So we have to go private now because if you leave it any longer, she may go deaf. But that's just that's an English issue we're dealing with. But that's one issue. We're lucky. We're in a position where we can go and get that addressed. But how many people can't go and deal with that and do rely on the NHS or other services? I think so. This exact conversation was had on the last podcast, and I listened to a different podcast recently, and it said society goes through cycles of governance, and we are approaching the end of a cycle where society will say this form of government no longer serves us appropriately, and there could it shows over the years. There were some really good examples of really makes you think, well, holy shit, yeah, we are ready for a change. That's right.
100%.
100 years ago, your politician was more concerned with serving the people of the country, and now it's a very self-serving role. And all the problems you just spoke about, Jamie, I'm sure if they really wanted to, could be solved.
Absolutely. The money we spend on the wrong things when we're not looking after health, right? There is nothing more important than our physical health, okay? There are people around us locally, which you won't know, that have passed away recently, okay? And you look at health and think, that's the only thing we have. Nothing else matters if we don't have our health. Second to that, it's our security. Our feeling of being able to actually live in a certain area and feel safe. Now, if we're going to cut those 2 things and subsidise or fund other things around that, it just blows my mind.
I think you're so right. Like my wife graduated as a paediatric nurse last Wednesday, and I was very proud of her. She got up on stage and spoke to 1,000 people. She did the thanks speech as a mature student and didn't tell me, so that was lovely. My daughter Carmen, who's only 11, but she got her first paycheck yesterday, and I was at a event, and I've looked in the break, looked at my phone, and she sent me can this be right, my payslip? And I said, yeah, it doesn't look anything wrong. She's like, no, but have you seen how much I got paid? I was like, well, yeah. But so she just can't believe it. Like she said, like, if I didn't have a husband, like I wouldn't be able to move out of the house. Like, how can a 20-year-old survive on this one? She's like, and she's doing night shifts. So I don't think that, in the healthcare, they're not getting paid enough either.
Nowhere near enough.
If I had a daughter, I wouldn't be pushing her to go and be a paediatric nurse unless she really wanted to. Like, it's not, doesn't make financial sense. My wife's retrained to come out of a different sector, but because she wants to help, because like Ben, I had both my children had a few little problems when they were first born. We met some lovely nurses, we met some terrible ones as well, and my wife realised that she wanted to do something, so I'm proud of her for that. But it's not an attractive industry to get into for the youngsters coming through, I don't think.
I think, like you say, as a parent, I wouldn't want my daughter being in that industry.
Our viewing staff go more on that. And
I know it's wrong, and when you're in the hospitals, like as a patient, you can see the stress levels, you can see the pressures. It's not their fault at all, but you can see why things are missed as well.
They're too tired. My wife the other day, the shift started at 7 and she didn't go until 10 o'clock at night. She stayed 2 hours extra longer because there was, it's a children's ward and the parents they were needed. They were short staffed, and it's it's hard for them, but that needs cutting spending, cutting the budgets. It doesn't make sense, does it?
We just the other day, we obviously, I'm sure you do as well, got lots of messages from people trying to support for different charity events and communities, and we do quite a bit. We do as much as we possibly can. Probably we can always do more, but more recently, my other half spoke to me about getting our kid an iPad for Christmas, or an upgraded iPad for Christmas. And I'm like, he doesn't need that, but I tell you who needs it is actually kids that do need it. And we had a message from someone that they wanted some more toys for a section of the hospital in Norwich. We've now gone and bought some iPads for the local unit, and for me, feels amazing. Like that iPad to someone else just feels amazing. And it's how far do you go? How much do you help? How far do you offer those gestures that's going to help someone else? And then it makes you angry when you see the TV. Great, we're cutting taxes, but we can't actually look after and fulfill the needs of what we have to people right now. I just, the strategy for me was all wrong, and I think they totally cocked it up.
We are veering off down a road here. But
sorry,
no. Listen.
Before we leave that, who thought they should have done something with stamp duty?
Well, yeah, that's where I was going with it. But while we're here, we may as well have the conversation. I do think society has to take some responsibility as well, though. So I think we live in this age of abundance where, the example you just gave, Jamie, about getting the upgraded iPad, that conversation, or quite often that argument, presents itself in our house when my wife will say, well, she's one of the girls started a new hobby. We've got to get her a keyboard. So she's been doing it 2 weeks. Let's just let it play out. Let's see if it's not another 5-minute wonder. We don't need to purchase everything. Not everything is. You don't need to upgrade everything. From a society perspective, there's so much emphasis put on items, and so much social media is I'm sort of 50-50. I think there's so much good around social media, but there's also quite a dark side to it, that the way children are now influenced by people that are being paid to advertise through the back door that you need this and you need that. And what have we got? We've got issues with safety, we've got issues with health. Housing in this country is embarrassing. But how can we have a housing crisis? How can we have 16 housing ministers in the period of time we've had? We need a change in governance, perhaps. I would like to see housing taken away from government, so that every 4 years or every 8 years policies don't change. And Bank of England style, somebody, get the brightest minds in property doing the right thing for property for the people that need it. But stamp duty, Adam, what do you reckon? You think they were going to do it?
Well, they shouldn't have done it in 2020, should they? If they'd have spoken to every property professional in the country, they'd all said, "But this is not needed. The phone's still ringing during lockdown. We don't need a cut." So, yes, it would have given another little boost, wouldn't it? But I don't know. Yeah, I personally think stamp duty is way too expensive and it needs to change, doesn't it? But I think maybe a change indefinite would be nice if it comes in now or sometime in the future. That's my thoughts. I just think
I guess they've got to be careful around inflation, and if they create incentives and it drives inflation and it just perpetuates a cycle, could be in risky territory. What do you think about the very small changing? If you don't change the facade, front side of the house, you can convert a house into a couple of flats. Any impact worth even looking at?
No. I don't buy it. I don't buy the strategy of what they're trying to do with it. There's so much more they can do. We have a housing crisis in this country. House prices aren't the issue right now. House prices shouldn't even be discussed as a housing issue. The housing issue is we don't have enough property to fulfill the demand that's there and the need that's there for people. Why? Well, actually, the government could, in theory, fund their own developments properly. They could actually build to rent properly, and they could actually make it economically viable to then go and do that on the land that they own already. It's not that difficult.
Did you ever see that question time when the chap proposed a system where, they buy the land, they build it at cost, obviously, build it at cost. Yeah. If the 3-bed semi costs them 150 grand to build, they rent it to a council tenant. The tenant can buy it off the council, but they have to sell it back to the council. at 150 grand. So the price will never change because that's what it costs to get. And then so that someone could pay the mortgage off, get their 150 grand, and then go and buy something else. And then it'll just, those properties will always stay in the council sort of arms, but you still have the ability to buy it. And I thought that's a great scheme. And that was about 10 years ago. Someone got on Question Time and spoke about that, but they don't do anything, do they?
Yeah, there's a few things that government need to be able to campaign about to get the job. NHS, if we solve that problem, how can we put that on a ticket next time we want to get in? If we solve housing, homelessness, unbelievable. You could solve homelessness in 6 months. If a government decided they really wanted to. It's not a money issue, because as you already pointed out, Jamie, we spend money on the most ridiculous things. Where we're sending billions of pounds, homelessness is not an expensive problem to solve. It requires a bit of work and a bit of thought. But yeah, it's funny what we prioritize, isn't it, nowadays?
The UK is currently, roughly speaking, the UK is built upon around 8%. So there's still roughly 92% left of the UK that isn't properly built upon. And I'm not saying we should go and destroy all our farmland, but I'm saying we have quite obvious issues of housing, of not having enough homes for people to live in. They haven't got to be fancy. They can be studio flats, 1 beds, 2 beds, small 3 beds. But it's so, in my mind, it's so frustrating. It's so simple for them to do. They have the funding themselves. They can literally print money, quantitative easing. They have the land that they own, or they can subsidise, and they can build and rent. Please, someone interject and tell me why it is so seemingly difficult.
New housing minister every year.
Yeah.
Don't wish to solve that problem. That problem doesn't get them anything. Which, I mean, it's ridiculous to even be talking in this way. But I think that's the majority of people's perception around politicians now.
Then what's the cost then to government, and what's the cost to our society of having people who are homeless, not producing anything for the economy, GDP isn't there, their health is then in poor state, so it costs the NHS more. There's obviously the moral and ethical aspects, but from them not seeing it as a problem, well, it is actually a problem. It is a huge issue because it's actually going to cost them longer in the long run anyway, or more in the long run anyway.
Are you actually asking a politician to solve a problem at source? Are you actually thinking they have that capability? They would rather, putting out fires is, so much easier, right? Oh, apparently. Right, I'm going to get us off politics actually because, we better do, because that's not really what we're here for, but interesting nonetheless. I'm going to give you my waffle of the week, which sounds like a bit of a rant. It's not really. I was at a course yesterday, really good course. Simon Ledbetter's 30 years in marketing. He was the ex-CEO of Fine & Country period of time. He's got Knight Frank on his CV. He's got Countrywide on his CV. He knows his onions. Really good course. Recommend it for people. Lot of content. I came away with 13 or 14 pages worth of notes, which is overkill, but good stuff. Anyway, what I wanted to say is I saw a load of people there that are my social friends, friends that you meet online, and you like each other's stuff, you have conversations, you're doing different groups. So I physically got to meet maybe 4 or maybe 5 people that I'd never physically met before. And we were talking about all sorts of different stuff. And actually the course spurred lots of really good conversations around bias, around marketing, around social media. And then today I've been tagged by all 4 of them on different, I've been tagged by 4 people. I met 5 different posts on social media. I was at this course, really great. Got to see this person, that person, this person. Really nice to meet you. And it makes me laugh because, we did that face to face yesterday. We had a chat yesterday. That was quite nice. And where I'm going with this is, we were talking about social media being it's a bit of a hungry beast. You've constantly got to be feeding it. If you're not feeding it, then it goes dormant. And the way we think of our social media in our business, and this is not everyone, just our own, it's a bit of an online CV. It's where people go to sort of verify we are what we say we are. I personally use my social media presence as a bit of a magnet for recruitment, as in when we grow, hopefully there's enough content out there to attract people into the business. But because of that, you can't have a period of time where you're not on social media. A little bit like our old business, we made the mistake really early on of entering awards. And then once you start entering them and winning them, you got to carry on, because you can't have a few years where you haven't. People start to ask questions. So yeah, that's my waffle of the week. Is there's a lot of online. We're just posting whatever we can to make sure people know we're there. How do you guys use your social media? Is that something that you guys experience personally in the business, that you've constantly got to be present, or do you approach it in a different way?
I've slacked off my social media probably a little bit the last few weeks, but I also know by doing so the effect it does have on the business. But also you get pulled away into everything else. Do you know what I mean? You can spend so long writing your posts, you're planning, you're probably not even in the present because you're thinking like, where can I go and whatever. But as a business, actually one of my biggest problems in the business is as a town, we all have the community groups, like, do you know what I mean, that everyone goes to, blah, 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 that I'm not allowed to post on, which is a separate issue. But I also wouldn't be where I am without social media, because it's that visibility and different things. So it's, I think, partly where we'd link about the overvaluing in the question earlier. Without my social media, I wouldn't have the results I had, because they've bought into who you are. They almost feel like you're their friend before you've gone through the door and things. So, and when obviously we went to the networking event last week, I think it was, the business owners weren't. First of all, everyone was like, oh my God, I saw your video where I had my head torch on at 6:30 in the morning, because it's that whole proof of I'm saying what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? Like, I open 6 o'clock in the morning through to 10 o'clock in the evening. That's my choice as a business. It works for me as a business, that I've got a really good social balance, believe it or not. But it's that social proof. Do you know what I mean? Actually, I'm doing what I'm saying I'm going to do. So it's a balancing act, definitely.
I haven't seen this video. Where were you wandering off to
Yeah.
with the torch on your head? What's going on?
You've seen the horse.
With that horse.
You've seen the horse.
Honestly,
I've got
a car full of head torches, high vises. Do you know what I mean? You name it, I've got it. So I am like, it's amazing. So it's just on my business page, and actually the how far that reached, but it gave everyone a bit of a laugh. And actually, I did look like a idiot, but I also go in and don't pretend I act like. Do you know what I mean? I go in places as rough and ready as I need to be. Do you know what I mean? I'm not all pretentious and things. So that's me.
Right. Good, authentic. I think it's got you. If your social media is fake, people catch on to that, don't they?
Yeah, I think social media. You've got to have a plan, haven't you? You've got to have what's your goal out of it, and you can see people post for the sake of posting. But doing stuff like that, raw, showing your emotion, showing your personality is going to attract clients. You might not get loads of likes on that post. You might do, but sometimes I'm shocked at how many people I meet who've say they're watching stuff or seeing us, but they don't ever engage.
Yeah, 100%.
I think like today we had a completion this morning, and I've never met the lady before, never spoken to her, and I walked in the office just as she was leaving with. She'd come in to give some chocolates to the team, and she said, I feel like I've already met you. And I was like, I didn't even know who she was. But she's a lovely lady. I ended up buying her coffee in the coffee shop next door. But she was like, I've seen all your videos and stuff like that. So I think we're always adapted. We've gone into YouTube this year, we had a plan in January, and it's working. And I think without a plan, you can just end up being just posting for the sake of it. I think. You've got to have we do a lot of Facebook ads and retargeting and stuff like that.
I think there's also some I think how as consumers people buy as well is quite a lot. So the hospitality industry and things like that struggle, because actually people don't plan, they don't book, they don't, do you know what I mean? So actually going restaurants and things, it's quiet. So I like to do it, and I eat out a lot. Like, I can get a table in any restaurant if it's full, do you know what I mean? Like, in the town. But it's about supporting local businesses as well, I think, and trying to say, actually, do you know what, this is here, and you're showing your community for people who are buying. And part of what I do is I say, I'm just outside Peterborough, but I say a Peterborough agent can't sell a Whittlesey home because they're not knowing it enough, whereas you're part of here and they're seeing that social proof, and actually, why do you want to live here, be here, and it brings up the quirkiness and things. So that's just how I have slacked off, and I've noticed it in the business. But
We have a.
it's just
Sorry, Tania.
no,
Apologies. I thought you'd start. Sorry.
you're right.
That's what you're on. It's all going for a four-way conversation, and there's a slight delay.
As long as you're not putting your hand up, don't worry, it's fine.
No, it's all good. So we actually have a proper social media strategy. So we've got an estate agency business, a mortgage business separately, and some other things. And we have a proper calendar on metrical, everything scheduled. We know what's going out and when. We have a ratio of videos, carousels, and other things. Excuse me. And our strategy is to show that we are fun, classy experts. That's our aim. Are we normal human people who stay as we are, like you, Tania? Are we posting random things of us doing what we say with our head torch on? Is the quality of what's going out classy? Is it presented well? So we've got a videographer in-house and photographers in-house. Is the quality of imagery good? And are we showing we're the experts in our field? Because that's ultimately what people want to see. Do they like you? And do you know what you're talking about in your industry? So we try and flitter between those sort of subjects and try and spread out the content to show those things. And it works really well. We get some insane business numbers, pounds and pence through social media.
I think it's like you get like Chris Watkins bangs on about, and I'm good friends with Chris, and I challenge him on this sometimes, saying like, all I see is people post properties. I was like, but actually, they are almost some of my best performing posts have been property videos, and like coming soon and just show a little snippet of a house. So I said that does bring us buyer interest and stuff like that. But other ones, we did a post where there's a walkway, little alley, whatever you call it, and it's actually got a nickname in our town. And I posted that once saying, does anyone know what this is called? And it went crazy, and we had about
what's the nickname, Adam?
It's actually called a twitchel.
Oh, wow.
I thought it was going to be something a little bit more risque.
No, there was a lot of comments like that.
But I think you're interested. I think you've hit the nail on the head. Obviously, I follow Christopher Watkins. I think all of us are very good and got the strategy. And probably I made the mistake as well in that I did a lot of I didn't post any properties or bits. And actually somebody said to me once, you do realise you don't post anything about like the houses or you've got on and things. So it's interesting, and I hadn't realised. Do you know what I mean? Like
it doesn't have to be selling, does it? It could be like on the scenes. I want to shoot with my light on, doing the not twilight.
So I've started, like you say, just to add more bits in, but it's easy to forget, and that balance as well.
At the end of the day, it is what we do, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. My feed. So what I was talking about earlier when I was talking about Waffle of the Week was actually all LinkedIn based, but from an Instagram and Facebook perspective, the vast majority is property based, it's property content, it's industry content, it's aspirational properties that attract attention. And then, from an Instagram and Facebook level, I keep a lot of the personal stuff on stories, actually. Like the silly stuff goes on the stories, and bits and pieces with the girls will make their way on once or twice a week, maybe. But it's I just think it's a funny old tool that we now have access to, that from a business perspective, strategy, scheduled posting, but from a personal perspective, I find it really interesting to see business owners that there's a perception that they need to be on top of it constantly. And I think at some point, maybe like you've alluded to today, Tania, other things have to be a priority. Sometimes there's other stuff that you just need to get done. But that was my waffle of the week. What about you guys? Any waffle this week you've spotted that you want to call out?
I've been too busy this week. I ain't seen nothing.
To be fair, Tania, you only got the menu this morning on what we're doing.
I might have had more of an exciting life. My life is like a drama every night. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I always end up somewhere. So mine's all personal. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've already been to see Santa and everything this week. I've done nothing. Like, I've been busy and, do you know what I mean, crazy. I actually went to see the horse and ended up seeing Santa Sunday, and then ended up like the other side of like Spalding, like Lincolnshire, wherever it was, right through to Sandringham, Norfolk, like to watch the light switch on. So my life
place to be.
Yeah, well, my life just ends up because I'm like, oh yeah, I'll just do that and I'll just do that, and so I've seen nothing.
Did you ride the horse there, or?
But
did you ride the horse there?
I don't ride. She's like a dog, remember? I walk her like a dog. She's clicker trained. She spins. She smiles at you. She is a dog.
Can she do viewings?
What, with the dogs? to be honest, I bring my pony home and she comes out in the gardens. So I've done valuations and they're like across the road from me and they're like, oh, the husband had dementia and they were like, oh, I can hear a horse. And she's like, don't be so silly. We're in a built up area. She goes, I opened the windows, like the curtains, and your horse is in the garden. I was like, well, yeah, it's normal.
Very normal. Yeah, completely. That's the word I would use to describe it too. Normal. Yeah. Adam, Jamie, Waffle, seen any Waffle out there this week? You want to pass comment on?
I don't know about Waffle, but I heard something quite good yesterday from Royston Guest, who said he did some training at a company and they did a thing called the double S in their team meetings. So shot of the week. So at the end of the week, they did a team meeting and everyone had to say what was their best thing of the goal, thing they achieved that week. And what he liked and what I picked up on yesterday, and it was quite popular in the room, was shit of the week. So what did you fuck up, basically? So I thought that was quite cool because a lot of things could, we're quite a positive company, but also it could be like, oh, I shouldn't have took that client. That wasn't the right client. I made a bad choice. We shouldn't. They're already causing me grief. I've only signed them up on Tuesday, and so I think that's something which I don't know if it's Waffle, but I found it interesting.
It's good though. It's giving people a platform to admit something hasn't going to get me according to plan, and then everyone learns from it collectively, and hopefully it don't happen again.
Exactly.
It's good. It's good.
Yeah. Fail once, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, supposedly. Jamie,
You still there? I cut out then.
Oh yeah.
what you were doing? I thought you were pretending to freeze because you didn't want to do this bit, and we'd have to move on if you didn't say anything. Oh,
You've got me. You've nailed me. Oh no, I've got to think. Is there a fly there?
You got any Waffle this week you want to call out?
Yeah, I want to call out my fiance actually because she looks up. No, I'm going to call her out, and she will listen to this as well because she looks after everything at home. She was a property lawyer. That's how we met, and we met doing a transaction together, literally signing up the TR1 form, and that's how we met. And I'm going to keep that property, and when my boy's hopefully 21, he'll take over that property hopefully, and that will be a nice momentum. But anyway. Why I'm calling her out is because she now is my home PA and she does everything. She's the rock. But we've got a business awards event tonight, and she just messaged me a little while ago to say that the trousers are missing from my tuxedo. So I want to call out her because actually, Ben, it's now 2:10, and I've got to think about where I'm going to find some trousers this afternoon.
You're in the middle of the fens, aren't you?
Yeah, basically. Yeah.
For a minute, I thought you were going to absolutely break the internet and do a Kardashian and just stand up.
Talking about social media, one of my agents, Michael, in lockdown, he did a video at his desk for the first week of lockdown, and he had his pants on. So like he did it on purpose. So in the mirror behind, you could see his pants, but he was
brilliant.
Properties cover, and that was one of our most popular posts.
I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was. John, you haven't turned the camera off. Stop that. Yeah, all of those ones. Yeah. Right, let's do Agents Together issue. So Sam hasn't given us a video this week. Me and him just haven't been able to join the dots up correctly. But the question this week is, as an agent, how do you choose which events to attend? Because it's got a conference season, award season, there's quite a lot going on. How do you pick and choose what to attend, and how do you prioritize effectively and sort of balance your business? Which is quite a good question because I have this, myself sometimes I need to be sensible and not attend some. How do you guys pick and choose what you attend? What are your favorites to go to, and what would you recommend?
Well, it goes to my wife. She decides.
That's the answer. Just ask the missus.
Yeah, if she says no, I don't go. If she says yes, I go. Yeah.
What about you, Tania? I saw you. We were at EA Masters together.
Yep.
How do you select which one you attend? Why did you go to that one?
Well, I don't get invited out very often, and everything's an experience. So I tend to. So for me, it's a balance. So actually, I'm going to the Negs on Friday. I had to, balance it with everything because obviously the EA Masters wasn't long ago. But actually, I'm already in London Friday, so it's business expense now. So mine's more of a personal thing, not a business thing. But I think it's, for me, I've not seen them, and it's a good experience to open my eyes to learn more from professionals and things. As long as I still get the work done. But for me, it's a 3-hour train. Well, it's like an hour and a half on the train each side. So that's 3 hours of work I can still get done. But I do have to balance it out with, like, the husband's like, you're going to London again? Yeah, what are you doing? But for me, it doesn't feel like work because you're going to these and it's enjoyable to a point. Does that make so?
Yeah, for sure.
There is so many, and would I go to them next year? I'm not so sure, but you can only make that decision when you've been to them as well.
Yeah. So would you recommend EA Masters, for instance, because now I attended that one? Would you
I
recommend
didn't enjoy
that?
it.
No?
I've done it now. No. No.
All right, for a bit of balance for you, Adam, you were at EA Masters as well. Would you recommend that event?
I do. Yeah, compared to the EFTAs, which I've been to, didn't go this year, but I went last year. I like the fact that you can actually learn something. I do like the mix of, I like a party. I like, as you saw, Ben, at the EA Masters. But I also
I don't know
like
what you mean.
I like the learning side of things as well. So I think just going like the guild. I'm a member of the guild, and the guild did their 30th anniversary party last year, and I openly said to Ian, I said I prefer a conference, so I think you can do a little bit of learning. You chat things with the team, just going having lunch. We could do that without. Do you know what I mean? The thing I like the best about getting together with industry professionals is not the things on stage, not the trainers really, because that you can learn that online. It's the mixing with other agents, other professionals. I was at a Perry Power and Worcester guest event yesterday. The second day was today. I didn't go because I wanted to do this podcast. Obviously, that's why.
Good man. That's what I like.
Nothing
How
to do
was
with
it
the goal.
yesterday?
Yeah, it was amazing. I was gutted I wasn't there today, to be honest, because it was really good. It was really good. But I actually stayed a bit later than I planned. Just I got chatting to a few agents I've never met before and was sharing ideas. And so I got back quite late last night. But it was really good. I like that side of things, like in the breaks. Lisa Cohen was there yesterday. She's a great agent, sharing some bits with her and a few others. So I like that side of things at these events.
Good, nice. What about you, Jamie? How do you feel about conferences, events, that sort of stuff?
Do you know what it is? I think there's just better things I can spend my time on, and I mean that as a focus way. Is like we went to quite a few events and they were good value, but I think now I've got to value my time and work out where I actually want to put it. And if it's my 2-year-old son, my fiance, my business, I've got other things on the side as well. And for me, I sort of get my kick out of coaching estate agents. So I've got some agents I coach around the country on a video call. We hop on, we have a good chin wag, we enjoy it. And that gives me my sort of agent to agent connection where I get to bond and, go through our problems and challenges and all the rest of it. So for me, I sort of get that fixed that way. And now going to a big conference, let's just say it's London, as Tania said, it's time there, it's the hangover, it's dealing with it the next day. The event would need to be something, as Adam said, where I actually learn loads and I get great, I suppose, benefit from it really. So for me, it's tricky. What about you, Ben? What's your event?
I used to enjoy taking the team to the awards because the team have a great day out, and we would turn it into a social event, and it would be maybe like a summer. The Estes used to be April, May time. That was a good time, and we used to get really sucked into the awards and taking part in the awards. And now in our new business, our new model, we don't have the facility to win awards. We're not going to enter any awards because it's a bit of a tricky area. You get stuck in doing them, and we're more focused on probably the more important things. I'm an obsessive learner. I wasn't as a young man, and now I am. And so a little bit like you, Jamie. So I do some coaching, some mentoring, and this podcast is a great platform for bringing good agents together. And I learn something every time I bring people on. I've got 20 years of experience, and I'm constantly learning, picking up new things, great ways to operate. So this for me is almost like my version of that. That said, because of the Finding Country Network, I was at the EA Masters because the Finding Country had a table and got taken. I'm at the NEG tomorrow because of the podcast I was invited along, which is quite funny. But completely to your point, Jamie, it's so much more than just showing up on the day for a few hours. I've lost 9 hours of time. So I've got to make that up before or after. The day after, inevitably, there is a hangover. And so that hangover either impacts the next day at work or if it's the weekend, it impacts time with the girls. So you know, it's the cost of attending them. And cynical me, I don't like the events that present themselves as for the agent when in fact there's something else. They want you to spend some money here or do something over there. I don't like that side of it particularly. But you know, each to their own. The question for Agents Together was, how do you choose which events to attend? And from what you guys have said, whatever's right for you, right? If it fits you, depending on where you are in the journey, you know, as a seasoned agent, I've seen and heard it all the parties, you know. I've had enough of that. I'm past it.
Yeah.
I don't want to drag down the mood for the young agents. I want to have fun. I don't want to be the miserable git in the corner.
I think the first one you go to is awesome. The first couple you go to, we did the Estas and, you know, one prize at the great. The feeling's great. You carry your trophies home. You're on the tube. You got like a little purple bag we got. I think you're on the shoulder.
Yeah.
We dropped them. We chipped the trophies. The next day, what a brilliant story. And then a couple of years goes by and you think, can I be bothered to do that again?
Yeah.
Can you be bothered to go through that again?
It is a balance with your family in that as well. Like you say, I think this is the year I've gone to them because I can say I've seen them done it. I won't be going back. Do you know what I mean? Because like you say, I think, Adam, it's the network. And I'm looking, I feel grateful that there is a good support network around. And obviously, for me, obviously it's not an awards, but we go to the business network dinner every month. Do you know what I mean? Like, I try to. And so for me, I get so much more out of that than I do. I get the same, do you know what I mean, from the awards and things as well.
Yeah, it's finding what works for you. But what I would always argue is business has to come first. And you know, if there's a need, that doesn't mean business versus personal. What I mean is, don't attend a conference if it's going to take your business backwards. You know, only attend if you can. Okay, great feedback, guys. We're going to finish on some fun. I'm hoping you've got some fun. Any stories you'd like to share? Adam, you look like you're itching to tell us something from maybe a past life.
No, because I ran through the team with some stories. I had ideas, and Chloe in the office and Tom were like, "No, you can't tell that. You can't."
You can absolutely tell it, Adam.
No.
You pull back in.
No.
Go for it, mate.
But as we're on the horse theme, it's not that funny actually. But I did a valuation once, where I was coming out of the that sort of front room. And then I felt like something was over my shoulder. I turned around, and there was a horse in the house. This lady had let the horse come in the house. So, that was. I thought I'd throw that one in now after you mentioned horses. So you could actually start taking it indoors. You never know.
So there you go.
Showing the house was difficult because she used to lock it in the shed, and it used to kick. It used to kick, and she'd always be there on the viewings, but she'd have, Billy, and I'd always take polos because I gave him a pack of polos. He was all right.
Is that a big shed or a small horse?
It was a small horse, yeah. A small horse and a small horse, and it wasn't that big a shed. It was a bit cruel, actually.
It was what?
It's a bit cruel, actually, because I used to get really sad when he was. I was like, let him out. He'll be around the garden. But I think the neighbour.
Adam grassed the vendor up. RSPCA didn't get his 1.5. So Adam said, "Right, I'm straight on the phone to them. Yeah, that horse taken away."
He was a bit of an eccentric character, should I say? One of the most eccentric clients I ever had. She actually accused my photographer of going through a knicker drawer.
Oh,
yeah, so,
that's a better story.
Yeah,
that's a better story.
And true. What about you, Jamie? Any interesting stories?
When I was 18, I worked in Norwich, and I was initially doing sales and lettings. And I remember doing like an inspection, you know, big inspection checklist going through. I remember going to this property, Northumberland Court, off Kexhill, which you won't know where it is, but people who from Norwich may listen may know where that is. Anyway, it turns out it was actually my boss at the time's property. So I'm at the door, I'm 18, got my key, I'm putting it in the door, and it won't twist or turn. I'm like, oh, this is really strange. Bang on the door. This little Thai lady opens the door, and she doesn't speak very good English. And she's like, you can't come in, you can't come in. I'm like, okay, well, I need to do an inspection. So she goes away, she closes the door. There's arguing going on in Thai, right? And I'm like, wow, what do I do? I can't let my boss down, I need to still go in. So she said, come in. But as the door opens, this man, probably late 60s, flies out. His trousers are undone. His shirt is undone. And I'm like, what on earth's going on? Naive, by the way, at 18, not knowing what this is about to be. And I go in with my little checklist, and she's on the phone to her other Thai ladies on speaker, and it's a brothel. It's literally a working brothel. There's candles everywhere, there's scents, the whole lot. And at 18, I just carry on, head down in my checkboard, really nervous because I don't want to let my boss down.
And you left 4 hours later, and everything was fine.
Hey, you really do overestimate my skills there, Ben. 22 minutes.
No, I'm assuming you fell asleep afterwards. That's all I know.
Yeah, 18 years old, not knowing what this was in the world, really. So yeah, great experience.
I'd like to be that naive at 18.
We've had a few.
You say you're from Peterborough?
DVDs.
Just outside.
Say no more, Tanya.
I know it's scary because my daughter's 17 now, and I think God, she's done well. Like, yeah.
Well, I don't know if you ever heard that properly there.
What?
What's she done well with?
Just like, obviously, I know what a terror I was at like 17, 18. So she's actually like, she still asks me, like, can I go out? I'm here and I'm this. And it just shocks me, like, how good she is.
What mum doesn't know won't hurt. What a nice way to end the podcast. Tanya's well-behaved 17-year-old daughter.
She'll be arrested next week.
Pardon?
She'll probably come back arrested next week or something.
Yeah. With I'll leave that alone because I've got 3 daughters, so I don't want to consider where this could go. All right. Well, thank you guys. You've been brilliant. Some really good stuff, really good content. Hopefully it's been helpful for people. As always, we'll sign off, say goodbye, and hand over to Chris Watkins for his weekly Watkins Whimsy. Thank you, everyone. See you soon.
Thanks. Bye.
Boys and girls, I've got this great idea, okay? Don't tell anyone, okay? Hot off the press. What if you had a plastic box on your desk with cards in? You could call them applicant cards. They can have all your hot buyers in that you could talk to. So if your valuer goes out to a property, you can say, I've got someone. You could even call it Hot Box. Check it out. Old school.